Mind if I turn that light back on? Funny, that only took a second. That is, a second to throw the switch.
Took a lot more time and men to create that gadget and the force behind it. A lot of ideas, a lot of inventions.
You never think of them, though. You kind of take them for granted. Ideas and inventions. Do you know what they are, what they add up to?
Free enterprise, the American standard of living, a way of life, a civilization.
I know they're high-sounding, overworked phrases, but brother, without them, we'd still be living in caves.
I wonder if you've ever stopped to realize it's been estimated that in approximately 85% of the homes Across the nation, there are people with new ideas. Yes, in each one of these homes, in your home, in my home, some member of the family is toying around with an idea of a way to do something better or easier, an idea for a new invention.
And it's a fact that practically every one of these people needs a source of help, guidance, advice from an authority in which they can place their trust.
Gentlemen, we'd like to take you down to Burlington, Kentucky, to a well-equipped factory in a cornfield. Its manager and engineer who helps inventors, yet a factory without workers. Here, inventors can feel at home, express their ideas to a sympathetic ear, and use the tools necessary to make their ideas a reality.
This is Frank Milburn, a young semi-retired engineer who has devoted most of his life acting as a link between inventors and manufacturers. And inventors found that through his policy of no contracts, ties, holds, or claims, they could present their ideas without long, drawn-out red tape to a man who understood their problems. Frank Milburn acquired that understanding over a period of 20 years as a technical consultant, assisting in the design and development of new products and their manufacturing methods.
Through that period of time, it became apparent to him that in the American system of free enterprise, there existed a tremendous gap between an individual's conception of an idea and the culmination of that idea into a successful production. Some medium was needed whereby the invention could be displayed without lengthy delays and a chance for a greater number of prospective manufacturers to see it and appraise its value without committing their organizations to expensive experimental screening.
The newspaper seemed the logical means for filling the gap.
First, there was a contribution of a series of unsigned articles which appeared in the Cincinnati Enquirer, which in turn led to a featured series, the Invenoscope, in the Cincinnati Post.
The Invenoscope, explaining in simple everyday language the virtues of man's ideas, telling his story, displaying his model.
The response to its first appearance was prompt and gratifying. Letters came in from inventors, from manufacturers, from consumers, from interested readers, all expressing one thought: appreciation and congratulations for the recognition of a long-standing need, the publication of the little fellow's ideas.
Letters came from manufacturers and sales executives saying that the Invenoscope was rapidly becoming their handbook of practical production possibilities. The successful marketing of some of these Invenoscope ideas just naturally followed. The result, a profit for the manufacturer, financial independence for the inventor.
These successes gave the Invenoscope another entrance into the papers, both here and in other cities, telling the Cinderella story of Mr. Inventor.
Momentum gained by this new process of recognition attained national stature when the periodical Popular Mechanics printed the story of Frank Milburn and what the Invenoscope was doing for the small inventor. To its 6 million readers, Popular Mechanics gave recognition of a major contribution to the stimulation of a waning free enterprise system of life.
This 2.5-page story of the happenings at this factory in a cornfield was reprinted by Popular Mechanics in 5 of its foreign language supplements, illustrating to 60% of the countries around the globe another American principle: open competition.
Mail carrying postmarks from overseas, expressing in French, Spanish, and German the hope of success for men with ideas, placed the Invenoscope in a position sought by many organizations but found by few, an institution whose influence reaches down into the grassroots of every land.
By now I believe you get the idea. But actually, gentlemen, we're only scratching the surface.
What would happen if you could give sound to all these printed words, with their natural human interest, action to the newspapers and magazine pictures? What a setup for television.
Think of the vast listener interest your advertising dollar would command. Because when you invest in the Invenoscope, you're presenting a variety of people in which the listener sees himself, doing what he would like to do. Nothing could be older than man's love for himself. Nothing could be newer than this creation of a new invention.
Give him both through the Invenoscope, and you capture that listener's interest.
Build a better mousetrap, and the world will beat a pathway to your door.
Tell you what I'm going to do. Got a lease right here on that path.
Now, who wants to see Mr. Harry Inventor's better mousetrap? Well, there's his family, and his aunts, uncles, cousins, his friends and his neighbors. Then there's the fellows down at the shop, in the office, his lodge brothers.
That's a lot of people, and they're the kind of people who will remember who gave him a break,
And don't forget the other guys who have better mouse traps, remember? At least 1 in 85% of the homes across the country.
Then you've got the manufacturers and his employees who will be looking for new inventions that fit into their production so they can increase their sales potential.
And you always have those people who want to have something new. You know, the kind who send for every new thing they see in a magazine, or join the Gadget of the Month Club. And finally, you've got the people who just want to be entertained. Now there's just a basic audience.
What's it going to take to increase it? Publicity, promotion, public relations, goodwill, prestige? Here's a natural setup. Take newspapers.
The Invenoscope is established there, and through reciprocal promotion with TV, one will publicize the other.
Then, of course, with the successful marketing of some of these ideas, the Cinderella story of Mr. Inventor will be feature material for use in other newspapers and magazines.
And don't forget Mr. Build-A-Better Mousetrap Harry, right in Harry's own backyard. There you've got things like neighborhood newspapers, not to mention the greatest medium, the back fence.
And good old Harry is a 99th degree mule skinner in the International Order of the Sons of the Pioneers, a big wheel in the local lodge. And those boys, well, pardon me, the pioneers, got an inter-organizational publication. They back Harry to the hilt.
And that ain't all. Suppose Harry works in a factory. It doesn't matter whether it's a one bulletin board factory or one with more bulletin boards than Morton's got billboards. Harry will be every one of them.
Not to mention Mr. H.I. is known as I Second the Motion Harry in Local 242 of the Electrical Chair Workers Union, and they've got a chronic live wire newspaper that will give Harry the full treatment.
What about Harry himself? When you present Harry on TV, he'll remember those who helped him for a long, long time, and you'll have a staunch supporter who will tell your story so often that even his grandchildren will remember Grandpa's appearance on TV when they're grandparents themselves.
Though you'll see and know more about it a little later, there are tremendous promotional possibilities in the fact that wherever practical, Invenoscope demonstrations will be filmed in the inventor's home or at his shop. Everyone for blocks around will know about the camera crew who set up their lights and cameras at Harry's house and took pictures for TV.
They'll all know where and when and on what show you'll see Harry's movies. Neighborhood enthusiasm and interest is worth a fortune, and you get it right down into every home on the block.
Here's a point we can't afford to overlook. That's the tremendous impact that is created by honest and sincere public service. We mention this for one reason. Within the United States government, the Department of Commerce, with the concurrence of the President, has set up a National Inventors Council under the direct supervision of the country's leading scientists to screen inventions for the armed forces and its allied government agencies. The Invenoscope's position as a pre-screening organization can be of public service and a great value to our nation in time of war, or during our normal peacetime existence, for the Invenoscope is placed at the Council's disposal and receives regular lists of needed inventions which will run as a regular part of the television program. The experience of 2 world wars has established the fact that America's mass production ability carried the tide of victory. In the event of another such catastrophe, the production may well be the only hope of survival of a civilization. Through all of World War II, Frank Milburn was associated with the War Department and the Armed Forces as a special consultant concerned only with elimination of those engineering and manufacturing problems that in any measure threatened America's production potential. In this capacity, working through subcontracting machine shops, tremendous production strides were made. He established the ability of the small shop to accept that part of production for which its equipment was suited, thereby freeing valuable production equipment for more important tasks. The Invenoscope will, in any national emergency, be one of the only mediums of presenting to the citizens of the United States, to the home workshop owner, to the small machine shop, the needs of industry as a whole which only they can fill. Never before has a sponsor or a radio station been in such a position to render a vital public service. As the needs arise, the Invenoscope, through its community production plan, under the guidance of one of this country's leading production specialists, will have every basement workshop manned by neighbors and friends of the shop owner, working in conjunction with the small machine shops to make the American production machine invincible. A sponsor thus has the opportunity to play a part in rendering a great service to the citizens of the United States.
This service will be enhanced by the appearance of a member of the armed forces on the show, For each program will present a guest, Army men, manufacturers, men from every field, and what applied to the inventor in the way of publicity will apply to the guests, only on a higher level of influence.
And with all this opportunity for publicity and promotion, we are giving you a means of creating a tremendous amount of goodwill.
Going beyond the printed page, goodwill will be extended even further by the manufacturer, who will know where to look for a preview of new production possibilities, by the inventor's subsequent outside contacts, by the successful marketing of a new idea, by establishing new industry and creating jobs, by keeping alive our system of free enterprise.
And most important of all, by your relationship with one little guy. For that relationship gains many friends. You build an institution.
That is the Invenoscope ready for television with its established audience acceptance, its natural avenues to increase and stimulate that audience, and its larger consumer market for you to command. And now the vehicle to carry the Invenoscope and your product into the home, the television show.
To build a television program, consider first the little woman, for the hand that rocks the cradle also sets the dial. So plan with her in mind.
To stage a television show, add a touch of home, and you've caught the woman's eye. She'll see a living room where Dad will see his den.
Here is a warmth of design to hold, yet not distract attention. Each part of this unit has a functional use. For those on the show, a pleasant, easy appearance. For those directing the show, a smoother production. And for the sponsor, an ideal advertising medium.
This is the avenue of continual product display, a large, spacious coffee table. Here your product can be seen at all times or can be served with ease in conjunction with the commercial message.
On this table, another display area, perhaps a place for a byproduct or an associated product.
Upon this central wall area is a coat of arms. One crest contains the Invenoscope registered trademark. The other will be designed to contain the sponsor's trademark.
Outside this avenue of continual product display, demonstration areas have been provided where commercial messages will be presented, making them a part of the program itself. These areas are ideally suited for the use of a cellarette bar serving buffet or an appliance demonstration. You see, gentlemen, within any area of action there is visual contact with the sponsor's product.
There is another advantage gained by the use of these settings. No additional personnel is needed to present a sponsor's message.
Poised upon this set, the eyes of your audience. Across it will move your products, our inventors, guests, and Frank Milburn.
Now, gentlemen, a live format of that package, the Invenoscope.
Little ideas by little men have made big changes in a big world. The progress of man is indeed in the minds and hands of people from every walk of life, men upon whom fortune has smiled, making their ideas a part of everyday living. Yes, from the city's busy thoroughfares to the side roads of the nation. In the office, in the factory, on the farm, and in the homes around the globe, there shines the spark of inventive genius, on which we will build tomorrow's better world.
What are these ideas? Who dreams these dreams? That's what we'd like to show you now as we bring our Invenoscope into your living room. You know, these dreams we're talking about, inventions, grow out of problems, and no one knows any better than you that we have problems. I've got a funny feeling that the problem with which we start tonight's show has happened in most of your homes. See if I'm right. Well, that's one of life's little problems, was I right? Has that ever happened in your home?
Next on the show, we present an inventor. He presents a solution to that little problem.
In addition to the presentation of entirely new ideas and their film demonstrations, a chat with inventors injects new personalities with interesting stories to tell.
But variety doesn't end there, for as you have seen, the Invenoscope is actually 2 shows in one, covering at one and the same time entertainment and public service. Inventions similar to the ones you've just seen will advance our standard of living. In the other instance, and here gentlemen take particular note, inventions that will safeguard our nation in time of war. We will put small workshops and individuals with basement workshops producing for the war effort. We want to create a community production plan, a gigantic specialty production network. No other radio or television program can achieve that goal. The Invenoscope will. For as in World War II, Frank Milburn, working in conjunction with the various agencies of the armed services, will act as a coordinating link between prime contractor and his subcontractors. The Invenoscope will bring into the living rooms of this area models, drawings, and pictures, the ways and means for each listener to personally participate in making our country invincible. We will see new industry created, new theories advanced, new markets opened in an unending variety. Other than military personnel, there will be guests on the program from production specialists, successful inventors, sales executives, captains of industry. Their encouragement to the small inventor will present additional variety, ad infinitum. For time does not permit us to describe for you fully the extent of variety possible through the appearance of guests alone on the show. Here it is sufficient to say that guests may be, in fact, will be, from every walk of life, who, because of their background or knowledge, are qualified not only to give helpful suggestions and concrete advice to the little fellow, the inventor, but they are a very important medium of adding prestige to the entire program. Getting back to the inventions on the show, you've seen a humorous film and a serious demonstration film. However, some inventions better adapt themselves to something showy or arty. Maybe a pretty girl. Here's an example. Being a good skater is one thing, but what about the people like you and me? I don't know about you, but I'm lucky when my skates are all I have scooting along the floor, you know? All kidding aside, fatigue and the fear of falling are the two things that keep people like ourselves away from skating rinks. Only a few, like the figure skater you just saw, can skate on the type of skate we have today. Here's an inventor describing how a skate is made. Then, for comparison, first he illustrates the stiffness of our present skates, followed by the demonstration of the flexibility of his skate. A presentation of this type adapts itself well to a chat with the inventor after the demonstration. Well, that's the story of the Invenoscope you'll see on television, the body of the show, the parts from which it can be assembled, but there's one final cap, the gimmick, something to pull the mail. It's a description of a couple of problems that either the armed forces or private industry have bumped up against. Solving that problem, or creating an invention to fill that need, is up to our viewers. These needed inventions will capture the interest of those who have inventive abilities but need something concrete upon which to work. From these homes will come hopeful mail. People reaching for success pile this mail upon those letters that criticize, suggest improvements, express appreciation, and offer encouragement to the little fellow, and you have the final punch that will carry the audience along till your next show.
Now it's time to take our Invenoscope out of your living room and put it back on the pages of the Cincinnati Post.
Little ideas by little men have made big changes in a big world. Who knows? Perhaps in your own home. From the farm across the road. From the factory where you work. From the desk next to yours. Or from among your nameless city's traffic. Perhaps, next week, we'll find the invention that will advance the progress of men.
They go now to sit at the Invenoscope table of opportunity. Helped, guided, and counseled by Frank Milburn, one of the country's foremost authorities on invention. In just a moment, ladies and gentlemen, we'll join Mr. Milburn and our inventors. But first, let's have a word about the Invenoscope and what it can do to sell your product.
As you see, Mr. Sponsor, this show opens with an invitation to all ages, races, creeds, and colors to stop, look, and listen, and perhaps become a part of the show itself. Now, it's a well-established fact that almost everyone is a potential inventor. To your audience of would-be inventors, add those people who are just interested in something new. Plus, the many millions of well-wishers who like to watch any program that aids in the hopes and dreams of little people. And you'll have a cross-section of the audience who will hear your product message. Now, as this show unfolds, note the sincerity and the goodwill that Frank Milburn is able to create and to generate in these little people. You'll suddenly feel that you're a part of this thing, and that you're pulling for this little guy or that little guy to succeed with his invention. Be kind of proud of your part in this television program, helping grassroots folks, building new production, and at the same time creating a stronger America. Over the top of all this goodwill and friendship, your product will ride right into the home.
You need picking popcorn in this thing, fried eggs, and all sorts of stuff.
Yes, sir. It's popcorn, fried.
Is that popping in there now?
That's popping corn in there right now.
Oh, be doggone.
Yes, sir. That's popping corn in there right now. Lots of it. You can do anything. Make coffee, fry eggs, fry wieners, make toast, make cheese sandwiches, anything you want to cook on there.
That's all right. That's good.
Bacon, anything. Cook anything you want to put in it. Automatic.
Hey, Frank,
You don't have to
you're on
touch
the
it.
air.
Oh, thank you. Hi. Hey, John. Come on in. Say, we've got a fellow here tonight who's invented an electric lunchbox. He just popped corn in it. He can fry eggs. He can do all sorts of things. And we're going to meet him directly and hear all about it. But, you know, ladies first. And we're going over to the Invenoscope's table of opportunities. Tonight we have a very pretty and sweet young lady with one of the most amazing stories that's ever come to our attention. Her name is Marianne McKenna. Marianne is 5 now, but when she was just 4, she invented a sand pile tool all of her own. And with the help of her father, she filed a United States patent application. For 2 of her 4 years, Marianne whiled away the time by working in a rather elaborate sand pile in her backyard. Most of the tools that she used were the cast-off implements of neighborhood kitchens. One day she became tired of the worn-out spoons, the broken knives, and the bent forks. She decided that she would like a special sand pile tool, combining the versatility of many tools into one. Now, with this idea in mind, she called on her grandfather, Dr. Franz McKenna, whom she almost always refers to as, "Hey, Doc." She explained her problem to Doc, and at his suggestion, the 2 of them slipped off to Doc's workshop, where under Marianne's direction, a new sand pile tool was born. She explained to him that she wanted something to scoop up the sand with, something to sift out the old twigs and dirt. Also, she wanted something to fill bottles and stuff with, and a thing to mold little animals and figures with. When she and Doc had completed this unusual sand tool, Marianne almost immediately named it the Sift to Scoop a Sand-A-Mold. Now, Marianne's father, Robert McKenna, wondered if his daughter's sand tool could be patented. So he took daughter and gadget to a patent attorney and found that it could be. Finally, a patent was filed in the United States Patent Office. Marianne went before a notary public, took the oath, and signed her own patent application. All, mind you, at 4 years of age. She's almost 5 now. She's a professional model, highly prized by local photographers for her ability as a little actress. She also models children's clothes on television. Well, like we said before, Marianne is almost 5. She's a professional model, highly prized by local photographers for her ability as a little actress. She also models children's clothes on television. Like we said, it's truly an amazing story. An inventress at 4, a professional model at 5, modeling on television. Who knows, perhaps by the time she's 16 or 18, she may be a great movie star. Now, Marianne, I'd like for you to tell us just a little bit about this. What do you call it? Can you say it a little bit louder? A Sift to Scoop a Sand-A-Mold. And what is this for us here? What do you do with that? That's what you scoop, isn't it? Is that right? And what about this? What do you do with that? And where does it go? Where do you put it in there? You fill bottles and things like that with it, is that right? But what about this over here? What do you do with that? What do you do? Sift out what? Where you get the leaves, the twigs, and things that fall in your sand pile, isn't that right? What about this down here? Well, now, tell me, you make a lot of dishes, I understand, for your father's sample when he comes home at night. What do you call those dishes? Tell me what those cakes were that you made for your daddy.
Oyster pie and strawberry ice.
Oyster pie and strawberry ice. What else? Boiled spinach? Boiled ice cream? Oh, Well, Marianne, we appreciate your dropping in. Table of opportunity. we of the Invenoscope family wish you the very best of everything, and happy, prosperous years as we know lie ahead. Now, I'll be back in just a moment with a housewife to tell about her invention. But first, Gary Lee has some very important facts about inventions that I think you should know.
Take away all of the inventions of the last 100 years, and most of it will be farmers, living right here, where the peasants in foreign countries are living. You know, most of the production being done today in the large factories over the land is due to the efforts of the inventors of yesterday. In fact, through the Invenoscope, you may uncover an invention that may well change our future. You can present entertainment, human interest, and a tremendous amount of public service all in one package, the Invenoscope. Let's add it up. Invention plus production equals jobs. And when people have jobs, they have the money to buy.
Say, that's good. That's the invention of Mrs. Nancy Gale Bowman. Miss Bowman, tell us where you live.
I live in Newport, Kentucky.
And what is your occupation?
I'm a housewife.
And this is your, not a patent necessarily, it's a copyrighted cheese spread, is that right? Your own?
Right.
How did you happen to develop this spread?
Well, I started a while back. I like to cook, and I started in my kitchen working on things, one thing and then another, and I put them together, and I found that I had a spread.
Mm-hmm. What, you cook this, or
Yes.
what all goes in it, or is that a big secret?
That is a big secret.
Well, how many uses has it? What
It has
can
many.
you...
It's not only a cheese spread. It's spread for any bread that you choose, and I use it in the oven on macaroni, scalloped potatoes, a baked potato, well done, and a cheese oozing down through the hot potato. Also, just a cracker.
Excuse me, could I have another cracker? That's awful good. Stuffed celery, and what else is it?
Salad uses, pears, or just banana on that. It's very tasty, very good.
Very good. I like the flavor of it. What, bacon, perhaps?
Yes. Scalloped potatoes. Very attractive and tasty that way.
Well, now, how do you make this? What do you do? Say, this thing's got me intrigued. I clicked over here to see what was going on. He's frying an egg in here now, cooking some bacon. We're gonna get back and meet this fellow in just a minute. First, we have a woman over there, a housewife, who runs the table of opportunity.
And then we pack a polished hot that's placed into the glass.
Well, do you have a base to start with? A certain kind of cheese or something? Are the ingredients to this, are they hard to get?
No, they're not. They're available all the time.
How many ingredients are there?
And 6.
Are those all cheeses, are they?
Oh no, they're not all cheese. They're getting thin.
Well, what else is there? I see tomatoes and
There's mango.
it's a yellow cheese spread.
The base
with
of my cheese is yellow.
Tomatoes in it. Is there anything else besides the cheese, besides the tomatoes in it?
Yes, it is. But that is my secret.
That's the secret.
That's my
You can't
secret.
tell
I
what
have
that
a secret
is.
formula.
now, what have you done towards trying to sell this, put it on the market?
Well, I have tried in several ways, but I haven't been successful.
Well, what was the first?
Well, I was in Cincinnati. I've been to a plant, cheese plant.
You went to a cheese factory and did and then what?
And then I've been with other places out of the city. I wasn't successful. I see at the time.
Well, I mean, what was the reaction that you got from the cheese manufacturers?
They liked it very much. It's something different. There's nothing like it, I'm sure.
That's people, friends of yours, have you sold any of this to anyone? Have you given it to people? I know you gave me some, and I enjoyed it very much.
In my home, I don't change in my city.
What is the reaction that you get from people?
They like it so.
Hey, can I have another cracker, incidentally? That's very good. What reaction do you get from the people as to when you serve it in your home? Have they ever tasted anything like it?
No one has tasted anything like it. And I have had calls to make it for parties, individuals.
And you have a trademark on the name. And there is a copy of the trademark. Now this is a registered trademark, as I understand it, issued by the United States Patent Office. And it says that the word Nancy Gale is the name of your cheese spread. So that gives you exclusive right to use that in trade and whatnot. Now, what is it you'd like to do with it? You want to get it on the market, is that it?
Yes, I want to find someone to manufacture, make my cheese.
You'd like to get a cheese manufacturer or some promoter or something else to put it on the market?
Yes,
Well, I'm sure that somebody will come along and help you get this thing on the market. We here at the Invenoscope Table of Opportunity think it's very, very good. And we certainly appreciate your dropping in here this evening to tell us about it and give us a bite of it. Now, we want you to meet this electric lunchbox, and you have already heard so much about this evening. Now we're going to meet the fellow who has this electric lunchbox. You've been seeing here all evening about this thing. Now we're going to meet him. His name is Mr. Guy W. Kenny. How are you, Mr. Kenny?
Very well, Mr.
Now, Mr. Kenny, first of all, tell us whereabouts do you live?
Mr. Milburn, I live at 4510 Plainville Road, 27 Ohio.
That's in Cincinnati, right?
Cincinnati.
And what kind of work are you doing?
Mine is power cable splicing, transformer. On the transformer, it's done electric.
That's electrical work.
That's power, the cable splicing, transformer.
Well, now, we've seen you this evening already. You ate popcorn in this lunchbox. You fried an egg. Now, we're all very anxious to learn more about it. We'd like for you to tell us about it and show us about it, just what you can do. I see you have a gadget here on the end. What,
Mr. Milburn, this gadget here is your thermostat. The control for low, medium, and high heat for the man that's on the job. To have it like ready to eat at noon at a low temperature for sandwiches, and medium and high is for coffee and eggs or wieners.
in other words, there's an electric heating element underneath here.
Yes,
right?
there is. Although the element is not playing the essential part. It requires baffle of heat and preparation of heat, plus your automatic control.
Well, I'd like to turn that so that everybody can see just what you have down in there.
And you heat your sandwiches in ordinary wax paper.
Well, now, this is the electric heating element.
Underneath this preparation.
And you have a thermostat that controls
Controls that.
You have high heat, low heat, or in between.
Any heat, lock, and cuts off. There's no danger in the operation, and it's good. They're working right.
Well, now, what is this piece here for?
That is your frying tray, your heating tray, and also for just making toast or grilled cheese, sandwiches, or those things. You can use that for a lot of different things. In fact, the whole pot is unlimited for the various things that it can do.
Well, now, would you tell us just what are some of the things that you can do in this box? What you can cook, and what this would mean to the working man who has to carry his dinner bucket to work every day?
The working man can heat his sandwiches. He can make hot soup. He can make boiled eggs if he wants to, or he can have poached eggs. He can have bacon and eggs, ham and eggs, hamburger, or wings, or anything you want. Even on any time on the job you want it, and coffee. Anything. Grilled cheese.
Well, I see you have here, you have some weenies. Now, you can grill those in there.
You can cook those, just put in a handful of them, and it only takes a very few minutes, and you're ready to eat. That baby's milk, you can heat that in approximately 3 minutes.
Now, Mr. Kenny, I see you have a couple of sandwiches wrapped here in wax paper. What do you do with those?
Well, I just place them into the tray, and close the lid down and turn it on for 5 minutes, and you have hot sandwiches. Just place them right in the lunchbox. Set your thermostat for 5 minutes, right there. 5 minutes, you've got hot sandwiches, ready to eat.
Well, does that grill the cheese or what?
That'll grill the cheese if you leave the paper off of it. You lay that right onto the stainless steel plate, which will grill the cheese.
What's been your reaction when you showed this to men on the job where you work?
Well, I have had ever so many to ask me on the job when they were going to be able to purchase this lunchbox. And the only thing I could tell them that it would be out probably in the future. And in fact, I don't believe as a day goes by that someone will ask me when they're going to get it. That is, on the powerhouses and the general job, general electric job, and so forth, all around. That doesn't just mean electricians, it means pipe fitters, plumbers, carpenters, and all. See? And for the officers, it's fine for the office, for the ladies, the nurses. And that is not just an ordinary unit. That's a special unit for this box. You can buy this box any hardware store, but the bathroom and the preparation, the control with the thermostat of the heat and the things that you cook has to be very carefully designed.
Well, one thing I don't think we've established that you should have a cord that plugs in right here. Is that right?
That's right. Just a 5-foot small cord. It holds up by your thermostat.
And that connects to 110 volts.
110 or 6 volts in your car for heating in the car coffee or milk for the baby, and for heating weenies out on a weenie roast in the country or weekend. Just plug right in a few minutes you got it without using any fire or any limbs or anything with fuel. And I found it fine all the way through and continue using it today. And there's a lot of men who would be very glad to have this box on the job.
Have you had this out on the job?
No, I have not. I was just waiting till I could get it on the market and get it so that the men could be supplied that want it. And I think all of them would really want it.
Well, what do you want to do now? You'd like to find a manufacturer who could make this, put it on the market for you, is that right?
Yes, sir. It would manufacture the unit. For the boxes, all manufacture the boxes and the unit.
Would it take much tooling to make that? I mean, would it take
No.
a lot of dies?
Very near everything you have on the unit is stamped up. The cost of the manufacturing of the unit is very, very small because it's all stamped weight. And there's no wear out or no break or anything would go wrong with the box. Nothing would is to be destroyed from the heat. It's compact all the way through. The minute you turn it on, whatever you're cooking will be that way, the way you set it.
Would that be an expensive product for the working man to buy? And
No.
would it add much to the cost?
No, sure it wouldn't. Your box and thermos bottle is practically your greatest expense. In fact, if the working man would just miss 2 meals that he'd have to stand and wait for, would almost buy the unit.
Well, in other words, this would be a low-cost item to start with. It would be possible for every working man to have a hot water.
Absolutely.
And I think there's quite a few million of them in the country that carry one. Now, you have showed us that you can fry an egg, you can pop corn, you can make coffee. You do that right in the coffee pot.
Right in the coffee pot.
And I think also you can grill these weenies.
That's right.
And also you can warm the baby's milk.
At the blood temperature. It saves no hot.
And popcorn, of course, we have that.
And it's also sanitary when you eat it.
Well, I think definitely that you have a very excellent idea there. And I'm sure some manufacturers are going to be interested in buying the thing from you, perhaps putting it on the market. How many different things do you know can you make in this?
I would say offhand, not trying a lot of other things, but about 8 or 9.
About 8 or 9. Well, I'm awful sorry. We just interrupted you. Our time is just about up. I certainly appreciate your coming here this evening at the Invenoscope table of opportunity to tell us about this kid. Before we go, I'd like for you to meet some of the other guests who were here to see. And now the first guest we had on this evening's program was Miss Mary Ann McKenna with her citrus soup and salmon. The second guest was the housewife, Mrs. Nancy Gail Bowman with her cheese spread. And now, please, Lord, help these little people to succeed with their invention. Because for that purpose alone is our Invenoscope scheduled.
Well, you've seen our show. You've seen a sweet young thing that would hold the attention of any audience. And next you saw a man who earned his daily bread by the sweat of his brow. And there are millions more just like him, all with ideas and inventions, most of whom would be viewers of the televised Invenoscope show. And last but not least, you saw a housewife. And believe it or not, in the thousands of letters that come to Mr. Milburn each year from every state in the Union and from many foreign countries, over half of that mail is from housewives, seeking his advice on their inventive problems. Now, to the gigantic group of working men and women, add the housewives of the land and you'll have a very large audience. Now, the televised Invenoscope show would come to you as a complete package with well-placed openings for 3 one-minute commercials. It would be written and produced by our staff. Now, here in the Invenoscope, you'll present variety with an entirely new cast each week, an entirely new batch of inventions each week, and a new show written and skillfully woven around the inventions at hand. You'll be presenting entertainment and variety that few shows can obtain. Public service unlimited, and a program that truly reaches down into the grassroots of America. Now, over the top of all of this goodwill, Mr. Sponsor, your product message will ride into every home in the land.